Cluster sampling is a method of probability sampling that is often used to study large population. So pag dako na kayong population, it is wiser to use cluster sampling, particularly to those that are widely geographically dispersed. So researchers divide the population into smaller groups. So medyo same na siya sa stratified, no? Kanilang siya kay clusters. And then randomly select among these clusters to form a sample. So just a kanang brief difference between the stratified and the cluster sampling. Kung sa stratified sampling, sa kada group or kada strata, dapat na kayo mapili na sample. Diri sa cluster sampling, dili siya necessary. So, pwede nga mag-focus lang ka sa isa ka cluster or mapili lang kag pila ka cluster nga i-focus. So, bahala na tong uban nga cluster or nga group. Basta kay nag-focus lang ka sa napilian ng mga clusters. So, the researchers usually use pre-existing units or pre-existing clusters or groupings. So, for example, kanang school or cities as their clusters. So, one of the difficulties with simple random sampling methods when we are to have a sample. So, if population is dispersed across a wide geographic region. So, medyo dako-dako bidang i-cover. So, the easiest way to do is select man gid ka aha ka mo focus. For example, imagine taga Malay-Balay ang imuhang concern. So, lisod kayo nga ang timbok Malay-Balay nga mga residente imong isa-isahon ng survey. So, imong pwede mabuhat, pili na lang kag specific cluster or area kung aha ka mag-focus. So, for example, sumulog gani ang mga purok. For example, purok na siya. So, instead nga ang tibok Malay-Balay, pili lang ka. For example, tukas purok 1 and purok 5. So, ito na lang ka magpili og samples. So, how to conduct this one? The first thing that you need to do is divide the population into clusters or into groupings. Usually, geographic boundaries gid ang imong option sa pag-group. Next, randomly sample cluster. So, or you determine also your sample size. And then, pwede nga, you measure all the samples within the sampled clusters. So, random di ay ang pagpili sa clusters. Dayon, you measure all the units within the sample cluster. So, pwede di ay nga, dili na ka mag-determine ng specific sample size kung ang tanan nga samples or units na belong sa mga clusters ang mga napilian. So, going back to the illustration. So, for example, by randomly selection or by randomly selecting the clusters that you will conduct personal interviews, cluster 1 and cluster 5 imong nabunutan. So, pwede nga sila na tanan sa cluster 1 imong i-interview and sila tanan sa cluster 5 imong i-interview. So, no need to determine na din the sample size. So, pwede na dahil nga na siya. So, for example, Bukidnon map. So, let's say that we have to do a survey of town governments that will require us going to the towns personally. So, if we do a simple random sample, so imagine, Bukidnon imong population, simple random sample ka, magsigid jud ka og travel, which is gasto kaayo. So, the most logical sampling technique to use is cluster sampling. So, since pwede man nimo siya mag-group by location, so okay kayo ang cluster sampling na daan. So here, magpili na random lang din ka magpili ka ng specific municipality, lugar, or specific cluster na mag-conduct ka sa impersonal interview. So, natin din siya. With that, makafocus, for example lang, magpili nimo is haman ka. For example, Malaybalay City, and for example, sa ang isa. For example, Manolo Fortich na. So, at least duwa ka location nimo ana ano ba isa imo. So, another example for this case, a test of the effectiveness of a new curriculum could begin by dividing an area by school district and then choosing a school or set number of schools at random and sampling students from each. So, kanino lahi po yung gibuhat? Instead na ang whole students from each kanang chosen cluster, nagsampling na po siya otro sa mga estudyante from each clusters. So next, data relating to universal phenomena is often obtained by cluster sampling. So basta mga data related daw ang cluster sampling ang gamiton. So take the example of a statewide survey testing with the average resting heart rate. So the state could divide into clusters based on countries and then choose countries at random to test. So, para mas dali siya. O dili na ka magsigi og travel. So, when to use it? So, if the population consists of units rather than individuals, so ano gid siya pinaka-obvious? Yung population is na siya clustering or groupings na daan. So advantage, easy and convenient, less gasto, less hago. Disadvantage, possibly members of units are different from one another, decreasing the technique's effectiveness. So if medyo lahi sila tanan no, medyo dako ka siya impact sa imong results. And then